I am 100 years old, and I am holding a pair of shoes I have never worn. Look at these hands. Go ahead, look at them. The skin is so thin you can see the bruise from where the nurse drew blood on Tuesday. These hands have held babies, signed mortgage papers, gripped a steering wheel for 73 years, and buried a wife. But right now they are doing the one thing they have done more times than I can count. They are lifting the lid off this box. Listen to that sound. Cardboard sliding against cardboard. I have opened this box maybe 1,000 times in 35 years, and it still sounds the same. It still sounds like a promise I made to myself. A promise I broke so quietly that nobody even noticed. Not even me. Not for a long, long time. Italian leather walking shoes. Custom stitched. Beautiful. The tissue paper is still folded around them the same way the man in the store folded it back in 1989. I remember the way the shop smelled. Leather and cedar and something faintly sweet, like ambition. I remember holding this shoe up to the light, just like this, turning it, admiring the grain. Not a single crease, not one scuff, not one scratch, not 1 mile. 35 years in this box, 35 years of perfection. And I need you to understand something before I go any further. Perfection, when it comes to a pair of shoes, means failure. It means they never touched the ground. It means the person who bought them never went anywhere. I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear it with your whole chest. Time is a thief, but not the kind you are imagining. Time does not rob you at gunpoint. Time does not kick your door in at 3 a.m. No. Time robs you while you are sitting in your favorite chair. Time robs you while you are watching the same television show for the 4th time. Time robs you while you are telling yourself, just 1 more year, just 1 more season. Let me just wait until things settle down. Time is a thief in comfortable shoes, and by the time you notice what it has taken, you cannot chase it, because your legs do not work anymore. Let me take you back. 1989. I was 65 years old. I had just retired from the same company where I had worked for 38 years. They threw me a party in the break room, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, a sheet cake from the grocery store with my name misspelled. Harold, they wrote. My name is Henry. 38 years and they could not get my name right on a cake. Everyone clapped. My boss shook my hand and told me I had earned this. Earned what exactly? The right to finally start living? That is what I told myself. I stood there under those buzzing lights, holding a paper plate with a slice of cake I did not eat, and I thought, now it begins. That same week, I walked into a shoe store downtown. I told the man I needed walking shoes, good ones, the best. I told him I was going to walk the Camino de Santiago in Spain. I told him about Kyoto, how I wanted to walk through those bamboo forests I had seen in a magazine. I told him about Patagonia. The man smiled and sold me these shoes. $240. In 1989, that was a serious purchase. I did not care. I was investing in my new life. But first, things needed to settle down. The house needed a new roof. You cannot leave the country with a bad roof. What if it rains while you are gone? So I fixed the roof. Then my wife Margaret said, let us wait until spring. Winter travel is miserable, she said. That sounded reasonable. Spring came and my knee started acting up. I went to the doctor. He said it was nothing serious, but maybe I should take it easy for a while. So I took it easy. Then the news started talking about some crisis overseas. I do not even remember which one now. There was always a crisis. There was always a reason. And here is what I need you to understand. I was not lazy. I was not depressed. I was not afraid, at least not in any way I could recognize. I was comfortable. That is worse. Fear you can fight. You can stare fear down. But comfort? Comfort just sits next to you on the couch and says, there is no rush. You have time. Comfort pours you another cup of coffee and says, why risk it? You have everything you need right here. Every January I would open the shoebox. I would hold the shoes. I would tell myself, this year. And every December I would realize I had said the same thing 12 months ago. The shoes went back in the box. The box went back on the shelf. And another year went into the ground, silent as dust. I watched younger men, men I had worked with, do reckless things. Tom from accounting quit his job at 60 and moved to Costa Rica. We all said he was crazy. Dave from the second floor sold his house and bought a sailboat. We all shook our heads. And where are they now? I do not know. But I know where I am. I am in a room I did not choose, holding shoes I never wore. And those crazy men are somewhere out there with scuffed shoes and stories that could fill a library. The lie I believed was not traumatic. Nobody sold it to me. No villain whispered it in my ear. It was just a quiet, reasonable thought that showed up every morning like a newspaper on the doorstep. Tomorrow is safer. Tomorrow is smarter. Tomorrow you will be ready. And I believed it because it felt true. It felt responsible. It felt adult. It felt like wisdom. But it was a coffin being built one plank at a time, and I was the one hammering the nails. Now let me tell you about the day everything cracked open. The day I understood what I had done to myself. I was 82 years old. It was a Sunday. October. The kind of October afternoon where the light comes through the windows gold and heavy, like honey, and the whole house smells like roast chicken and rosemary because Margaret had been cooking since noon. The whole family was there, my son Richard and his wife, my granddaughter Ellie, she was 12, bright as a whip, that girl. Curious about everything. She had this habit of asking questions nobody expected, the kind that made you stop chewing and look at your plate. We were all sitting around the dining table. The good plates were out, forks clinking. Someone was talking about a neighbor's new car. Ordinary Sunday noise. The dog, a big golden retriever named Captain, was lying in the hallway, and I could hear him sigh the way old dogs do, like the weight of the world was sitting on his ribs. And then Ellie looked up at me from across the table. She had mashed potatoes on her fork, and this look in her eyes like she was about to solve a puzzle. And she said, "Grandpa, what is the most adventurous thing you ever did?" The room went quiet. Not the kind of quiet where people are thinking. The kind of quiet where people are holding their breath. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking. I could hear the oven humming behind the kitchen door. I could hear Captain shift his weight in the hallway. I could hear everything except my own answer, because I did not have one. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. My mind raced. I searched 65 years of working, 42 years of marriage, decades of weekends and vacations and holidays, and I could not find a single story that deserved the word adventure. Not one. I had been safe. I had been careful. I had been responsible. And in that moment, sitting at that table with rosemary in the air and honey-colored light on the walls, I realized that responsible was just the word I used to hide from the truth. The truth was that I had been afraid, not of danger, not of failure, afraid of leaving the chair, afraid of what might happen if I actually laced up those shoes and walked out the door. Richard shifted in his seat. He looked at his plate. He knew. Margaret reached over and touched my arm, gently, lovingly. But that touch did not feel like comfort. It felt like a verdict. It felt like she was saying, "I know, Henry. I know you have nothing to say, and I love you anyway." And somehow that was worse than if she had said it out loud. Ellie did not wait for my answer. She shrugged and went back to her mashed potatoes. She moved on. 12 years old, and she already knew her grandfather had no stories. She had stopped expecting them. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my study. The house was dark except for the desk lamp. The walls of that room were lined with books, hundreds of them. Books I had bought because I was going to read them in the countries they were written about. Hemingway in Spain, Murakami in Japan, Neruda in Chile. They sat on those shelves like headstones, marking places I never visited. There was a globe on the corner of the desk. I had owned it for 40 years. I reached over and touched it. It was dusty, smooth, no fingerprints, no smudges where a finger had traced a root. Nobody had ever spun that globe and said, "Here, let us go here." It was decoration. It was furniture. It was a lie made of cardboard and paint. I opened the drawer where I kept the shoebox. I lifted the lid. That smell hit me. New leather. But underneath it something else. Something faintly chemical, like formaldehyde, like preservation, like something that had been kept alive artificially, long past its purpose. I set the shoes in my lap, and I sat there in the dark, and I wept. Not loudly, not dramatically. I wept the way old men weep, which is to say I wept without moving, without sound, just water running down the lines of a face that had done nothing to earn its wrinkles. The passport in the desk drawer had expired in 1998. I never renewed it. I never needed to. That was 18 years ago. I am 100 now. I live in a room with beige walls and a window that looks out onto a parking lot. Margaret passed 11 years ago. She was 89. She never complained about the trips we did not take. She never once said, "Henry, you promised me Spain." But I wonder sometimes if she thought it. I wonder if she was lying in that hospital bed at the end, looking at the ceiling tiles, imagining a sky over Barcelona that she should have seen with me. Ellie is 29 now. She is backpacking through Portugal. She sends me photographs on the phone the nurses help me use. I hold the screen close to my face because my eyes are going, and I see her standing on cobblestone streets, standing on cliff edges over the Atlantic, standing in all the places I pointed to on that dusty globe and never visited. Her shoes, in every photograph, are filthy, mud-caked, worn through at the soles. Beautiful. The most beautiful shoes I have ever seen. My shoes sit on the nightstand next to my bed. The nurses think they are sentimental. One of them, a kind woman named Diane, asked me once if they belonged to someone special. I said yes. They belonged to the man I was supposed to become. Every morning I wake up to the mechanical hum of the oxygen machine beside my bed. Every few minutes I hear the squeak of nurse shoes on linoleum. Rubber soles, scuffed, worn, used, alive. And then I look at my nightstand and I see that box and those shoes, pristine and useless and perfect. They do not mock me loudly. They do not need to. They mock me the way silence mocks a man who had something to say and never said it. I cannot walk anymore. My feet are swollen to twice their size. If courage showed up at my door tonight, if it walked in and said, "Henry, get up, let us go," I could not stand. My body has closed the door that my mind left open for 35 years. And that is the cruelest part. It is not that I lost my chance. It is that my chance was sitting in a box on my shelf the entire time, waiting for me, patient as leather, and I never reached for it. Not once. Not once. Now I am going to talk to you. Yes, you. The one watching this right now. The one with your phone 3 inches from your face at 2 a.m. The one who just thought about skipping ahead. Do not. Listen to me. I have earned the right to say this because I failed at the one thing it is about. You have a shoebox too. Maybe it is not shoes. Maybe it is a plane ticket you keep pricing, but never buying. Maybe it is a conversation you need to have with someone you love. The kind of conversation where you say the terrifying, honest thing. Maybe it is a business you have sketched on napkins for 3 years. Maybe it is a person you think about at night, a person you are waiting to be ready for. You will never be ready. That is the lie. Ready is not a destination. Ready is a trap door. You stand on it long enough, and it opens beneath you and swallows every year you had left. Fear, dressed as practicality, is the most dangerous force in a human life. It wears a necktie. It carries a calculator. It makes reasonable arguments, and it will eat you alive. Scuff your shoes. Do you hear me? Scuff them. Destroy them. Wear them until the sole peels away from the leather and the laces snap, and someone looks at your feet and says, "My God, what happened to your shoes?" And then you tell them. You tell them everything that happened. You tell them every road and every hill and every wrong turn and every blister. You tell them you lived in those shoes. Do not be the man holding a perfect pair of shoes at 100 years old. Do not be me. Tomorrow is the lie comfort tells you, so it can finish stealing today.